he's moving a lot. What I'm doing here is I'm looking to see his rotation. So I'm going underneath his right shoulder.
What I'm seeing is his shoulders are super stiff. Like
Right.
loading him in and out of the car seat is a pain in the neck.
I think I'm going to bring this out just a little bit because he's actually rolling probably too much. What a yawn! I can see the other side. What I'm seeing right off the bat, also see how he's rolling left, left, right, right. So there's no twist through his back. Do you see that? So he's, when I bring him back, see how it's all coming together, so the pelvis is coming together? Now he's got a nice sway in his back and forth, but and this is my whole premise. I'm not seeing the rotation. So I'm just here, but this is how I evaluate. I'm going underneath the hips. This is a difference between him and anybody else. I've always worked on, I just go to work.
Right.
I never do an evaluation. So now I'm going to come under this side so you can feel the difference between, or I can, between the left hip and his right hip. So see when I lift the right hip, do you see the difference between the left hip? See how? Right. Slightly more than the right. But see, on the right side, you're not seeing it even with the foot. Whereas here, see how the knee already starts to sway. And underneath the shoulder this way. So the left shoulder, again, is more available, just slightly, than the right. See the right? I don't want to know if he's rigid. He doesn't know what to do with the movement.
And for the last 2 weeks, they've burrito babied this kid.
Correct.
Up, hands up this way, holding a pacifier to keep him soothed.
Right.
With at least one pulse ox, the 4-point blood pressure checks because of the heart, at least the belly button lines and a cranium and a renal scan for the blood flow, respiration, heart rate. There were like 6 points on this kid at any one given time.
So see when I go underneath the knee, his whole system startles, the hands and the knees. And again, everything that I'm saying is just all observations. I'm not, I'm already going to be working on changings. But his point of max is for people to go, oh, that's what my kid's doing, or he's not. Now see already, look at the difference of this foot
Yeah.
versus this foot. See the difference? Just even with the relationship, the knee.
That's the one the pulse ox was on.
But I'm saying the left was actually better than the right.
Yeah, I know, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
The left had the pulse ox.
And here I'm just going to do this little elbow. And I'm about to get to work, Max. Are my hands too cold? I hope not. But this, even though the hand's swollen from bruising, he's got a nice little grip. So now with that, obviously the touch on a premature child or any baby is just got to be so gentle.
You're actually seeing him before the pediatrician.
Yeah. She
That's
gets
the
him today
set.
at 3. Cardiologist tomorrow at noon.
See, this is where I'm perplexed. It's amazing. He only has 3 valves and he's here off of oxygen. I mean, like, I just don't know how the body works that way. What, is it just so tiny he just doesn't need that kind of?
No, what it is in his heart, I should bring you a picture of it so you can actually show it.
Yeah.
In his heart, the right ventricle has grown, but it's not proportionate to the left ventricle. It's hypoplastic, which means it's not flexible. It's not pumping. It's pretty much like a backboard, like a basketball hoop. So the blood flow's coming down. There's a VSD, so a ventricle septic defect,
Right.
which is open enough.
I think Graham had an ASD.
Okay.
versus a VSD.
And that could be
And we went through Cohen's group too, so. I mean,
right.
right.
And they wanted that VSD because it meant that blood flow, that what they were hoping was that it would springboard off of the right ventricle, be enough of a flow to go into the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery was wide enough, but not too wide. They were concerned about too much blood flow or not enough blood flow. And either of those cases would have required that shunt to either cinch it tight or expand it bigger. So we lucked out with...
So he's bypassed already that procedure.
That procedure was the take him to PCH and get it done before he's released. And that is not necessary.
Cool.
So that's how it's flowing right now. And it's enough blood flow to the lungs on his own. But, I mean, he's not going to be... The concern with a lot of these babies is that they can't even nurse because the suck swallow is too much of a challenge. It's too much work to nurse.
Right.
But last night was an anomaly in our nursing sessions because I think there was no noise, there was no light in the room. Like, once I put on a cell phone app with a train, he was out like a light. And it was 5 a.m, so it was a little brighter. But he can nurse between 15 and 25 minutes on any one side before he falls asleep. So he's nursing without a problem and then going right out. So, I know, look at that.
Looking at the face like,
I know, it's got to feel really good.
Well, do you already see the difference? How
Yeah, he's
his
stretching
whole
it out.
body's going
he's
out.
stretching out.
But also see how the feet are starting to become independent.
And relax.
Yeah. Hmm.
He's relaxing that leg a little.
And the arm, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all independent right now.
I'm going to wiggle this again, just so you can see that whole foot. Oops. Sorry. Just because he's stretched into that length, so you can see his foot flex if he does it.
He must feel good because he's just going, This is where I said to Eric a couple of days ago, to look at this child, you would not ever know there was a heart problem.
No, and
All
the
fingers and toes are there, and color is fine, and
chromosome test came back too, so there's no chromosomal issues.
you've looked at
She
that
was
one.
telling me yesterday, she said it takes up to 6 weeks. I don't, now that you're being discharged, she said a lot of time parents are still here when that test result comes back. She goes, but now that you're being discharged, we will contact your pediatrician with the results and they'll give you the results. And I'm thinking, okay, well the phone rings. It happens to be the test results. She goes, I can't believe that. I said, oh, okay, well what are they? No problems. So,
There we go.
pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's a miracle baby.
Notice I'm not trying to straighten anything or do anything. I'm working right now on the pelvis in relationship to the spine. And also just his light lift in the tush.
He has no tush.
He
I've
does it.
been wiping it. There's nothing there.
There we go. See, what people don't realize, a lot of these kids end up having like hip dysplasia and stuff, but if you take a 1-pound baby, let's say, burrito him and put him what they like to do is womb position,
Right.
now you gain half an ounce, Just that proportions on how the bone density affects just that lying there in the NICU. Again, they're there to save his life, not to...
Right.
They're not worried about what happens after he leaves as much. Their
Yeah.
concern is keeping him alive while he's in there, but we're looking for quality of life.
That was the
for this
first
guy.
time, too, I saw where his head just moved versus the whole body. Like he just... What? There we go. And as he moves like that, now I'm working on the backside. Same thing.
He's obviously not being tortured.
Oh, no, that's what's...
No, I'm teasing.
No, I really believe that Max would have had issues of delay or fine motor skills, let's say, because of the stuff versus his condition. Now, we still have to get him through heart surgery and all
That's
of
gonna be
this,
the
right.
problem.
but look at the difference mobility-wise, and that's why to track him like that, because everyone was looking at me lately, boy, where's your proof? And I'm like, I've got hundreds of hours of video proof, but this is the first time, like I said, where I'm like, oh, I have to really do an eval before. Now, anytime if he's hungry, because he's getting a workout. Feel free, and then we can come back,
And that's perfectly fine with me. I kind of would expect it, but when you think he's not responding.
Because I mean, already, look at the difference of how he's working out. Look at, see, that's standing right there. See
Yep.
how he just pressed
Yeah.
through?
He's wiggling.
Do you want your mommy? I'm not going to torture you. I have no intentions.
No. Is that a milk drunk face?
I just about to say the same thing. Yeah, I was with my mom. We were partying. So this is a real easy movement. Do when they're changing the diaper. This eventually, where the pelvis can tilt like this, is going down the stairs. This is where you're having, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm never with the baby going up, down, left, right. I'm always just doing these gentle little rotations or torques.
That's open again, I can see it in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
But where I'm jealous at, God, I wish I had this with my kids. You know what I mean? I don't have any kind of. You're going to have such a library. If you ask any question, you'll be like, what week do you want to examine?
This is amazing. This is a true gift.
Well, thank you for thinking of it that way, because let me tell you, I couldn't believe it's like. I Facebooked it, yeah. I'm like, how hard is it to find a baby?
Oh, I didn't know you were actively
Oh.
looking like that.
Yeah,
Here I'm-
no, I know.
You want a shot? I'll Facebook you. We need more babies.
No, I mean, no, right now I've got him and I've got my other baby coming in July 4th if she doesn't, there we go. Woohoo.
I actually, Desiree's baby might.
Yeah, another candidate.
That would be another candidate too.
Hiccups.
I always tell my boys this when they're growing.
Mm-hmm. That's what I always tell Mark.
Notice how I'm working on the shoulders as well as I'm working on the pelvis, even from this position. How the spine needs to float in between the scapula.
Mm-hmm.
Notice too, I never put him in a quote position. I just, wherever he's lying. But I'm really noticing, and I'm not trying to force it, that he wants to tuck this way versus this way. See
Yeah.
the difference in the chest cavity?
Yep.
And that's where you could be getting that where he's finding the difficulty tilting the head.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you are stressing him that way.
Oh yeah, no, that's what we start with that first. That's our first side. And then after that, then I give in to the left.
But also notice now too that the lack of startle and just touch that he's quickly learning. Because that's another thing. Dad been touched, and every time it comes with a poke, a prod, or... And they all say
Yeah.
babies forget. Well, until you know for sure. But see now the difference of stretching out the legs versus it being, it's much more graceful almost. Notice how too, one leg up, one leg down as I tilt. You almost sound like a chirping bird.
Man needs to be burped.
If he does, please feel free. Now look
Legs
at
up,
how he can,
2 legs up.
but look at how nice he was able to lift through the back.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see he's straighter.
But this way he can react. See, the problem is when you take a picture of a child, let's say right now, someone would say, oh, look at his leg, you know, that you could always, a typical baby, you want them to go in and out of an asymmetrical patterning. It's when they get stuck in a position that you have concerns with. Like I'll be doing his head last because I want his, right now he's just seems to like to lay his head on one side, so I'm going to stimulate that last. Notice too, I'm not holding or restricting, just like the pulse ox in the feet. If I do anything, it's something like this, or right now, because he's so light, I can just, he's doing the work that I would do on the feet, and doing it through the pelvis. And even his legs don't seem as crinkly as they were, because they're not as stressed with the muscles, he's relaxing. There we go. And this is a pre-crawl, right there. Okay.
You're not teaching him to crawl early, right?
No.
Just making sure.
No, but this is where people
gonna
don't.
walk your corner.
Messing with you.
No. But honestly, if I can't get this to do this in his pelvis now,
That's right.
don't be so surprised. And this is my whole point. People are like, I had no idea you wouldn't be able to crawl, and I'm like, I could catch it in a newborn.
This is the developmental stuff that people
Yeah,
just don't
I
get.
call it developmental movements.
They don't get it.
To wait till he's not sitting up, you've just mixed 6 months of material.
That's right.
And if you're just sitting there anyway watching TV, why can't you just watch a little DVD?
Well,
And go, oh, I'm changing his diaper.
And they're so easy to almost condemn this child to developmental delays because he's going to have surgery, and it really may not be at all necessary.
Well, again, you see how gentle I am, so he'll be getting this stuff right after, whereas
Exactly.
that kind of surgery, most kids would, or adults would have to wait. Well, not only that, but you have to wait time for physical therapy because it's much too invasive.
Well, what I've seen online are these people who post, my son just had the Glen, and, it's 1 week later, and, like, he's going back to daycare, and I'm thinking, really? How does that work exactly? But it seems like the kids bounce back enough that,
Well, that's what also people assume. You rarely see a child saying, you just had massive surgery. Here,
Right,
let's look at
yeah.
some therapy. How are we moving?
look at me, yeah.
Versus, if you say my shoulder hurts, you get drugs and MRI and PT and whatever and script it up. The younger they are, they're just going to say, oh, we'll just wait. Come back in 6 months.
Right.
And then, like I said, it's 6 months now. You all of a
It's
sudden you
critical.
have these.
Look at him, he's just stretched out.
This is
so
the
long.
longest, that I've seen him this whole time.
That's riding a bicycle right there. See how he was just doing that? Shh, shh. See? Gesundheit.
That's right. See, my theory too is that as a second child, this one's going to be watching the older one. The older one is going to be the one to say, let's do this one more time. Let's do that one more time. Like, let's go an extra house on the bike. Let's do this. And they're going to follow. So they're
Well-
going to have more training with a buddy where a parent's going to be tired of tossing a ball after 10 times.
Not only that, but no offense, you being around the block before, makes a big difference. If this was your
Yes.
firstborn child, I don't even
Oh,
know if you'd be here, because you'd be like,
Yeah. I don't know.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Excuse you.
Little boys, I
I
don't
know.
know.
I know.
But notice how slowly I brought his head over, because at first when I did it, he really startled with his breathing, bringing the head up and around. Now I'm just...
He does have a tender belly button right now, we noticed.
Yeah. Right now, I'm working with the sternum and the chest cavity in relationship to how the head's going back and forth. There we go. See, now he's getting much quicker. So now I'm just going to back off and see where he goes with that. There he goes. No, I'll let you go back and forth a couple times on your own.
Michelle, this head is so heavy.
Yeah, well, if he says that now, you know, I don't want him to maintain that. But see how the head goes back and forth and he's not flopping to and fro. Well, I'm actually feeling bad for you too at this point with all these hiccups, but you don't seem like you're distressed.
No, it doesn't.
Mine hurt. And again, I know we're probably doing sort of like a weekly documentary, but at the same time, if you have any concerns, it's about Max, not so much the videotaping schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you want to do this?
Hopefully we can work out, once a week where we're getting together, and I'm going to do the same thing every week to evaluate him, and then I'm going to start giving him a lesson. And,
Well, for the next,
10
probably,
weeks, 8 weeks.
yeah, for the next several weeks, I'm not really gonna be at work, so if you want me to be a cancellation fill-in,
yeah,
let me know.
okay.
Because I can certainly, barring any ridiculous unforeseen problems with the other appointments in our life.
And starting in August, really, you're going to be out running a month.
Yeah.
Or one of us would be,
Yeah.
so.
But at the same time, this is why I deal your clothes. If I have to come to your house,
Right.
I have no I mean, you guys are doing me the world of good. I don't expect you to bow to.
It's not like
But
it's
I
that
mean,
far.
ideally, I'd love to follow him for a year, and then, year and a half, to just see him out.
Well, they do the Glen at like a 6-month mark, but there's a weight limit. So I'm gonna find out what that weight is. Because we either need to hit that mark before RSV season,
Right.
or we're in maybe a danger zone of not having it done.
Well, with him nursing and getting these lessons, I don't foresee that being an issue because.
I don't either.
Look at now where the food's gonna go. Not only that, but he's working so much harder that he's gonna be hungrier, which
That's
is
right.
the whole.
Yep. Well, in the hospital, I mean, he had a steady trend of gain, like almost every day for the last week.
Yeah.
It's been up. There really hasn't been a loss. So, and it's been pretty much breast milk since Tuesday when we started dropping it off. Monday night when we left, they had to do formula because I wasn't there to run it up bottle by bottle. But
Just so I get your head. How we doing?
you're good.
How big's his head?
She just told me 12 inches or, did she say 18 centimeters maybe?
Gordon's was at birth 14 and a half inches. It was like
Tiny.
huge,
Huge.
14 and a half inches.
Oh, inches, not centimeters.
No, inches.
She had big babies.
Yeah, well,
This is 16 inches, so his head was literally like,
at
Natural.
at 3.5 pounds, he should have slid right out,
yeah.
but that didn't happen.
Well, they didn't try either, right?
No. No, at that point, they would have had to do magnesium, and they really were not doing it because they didn't want his breathing to slow down. So, Mike and I had pretty much agreed at that point too. It wasn't like a VBAC wasn't the important thing. It was not delaying the oxygen.
Yeah.
And apparently I was contracting at the same time. So according to Dr. Hervey, things were breaking down, like, because I wasn't feeling it. So the cord was pretty much detaching, like he would have been without oxygen that would have been worse.
It's amazing the medical education the moms get.
I know, right? And Dr. Mom.
It's like when I told my pediatricians or doctors, my son's polysaccharide A deficient. Well, does he actually have that diagnosis, or did someone give it to him? I'm like, what do you think I did? Get off the internet? There's no Facebook group for it. I mean, his autoimmune failure is that rare. I mean,
Yes.
There we go.
Not bad.
This is my whole key point. See how as I move the head
Relaxed.
with the counterbalance through the pelvis? That to me is what's crucial on that rotation with the babies.
I'm watching the eye focus.
Yeah. Well, that's the organization of the diaphragm and the breathing. See, when the startle's not there, the eyes can... It's unbelievable, again, what this kid's getting, not to be a brag.
No, I'm gonna brag.
And, but even today, I'll post up just the before and afters, just to,
Yeah.
because it's gonna be neat for you to see. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
this is gonna go by. That's why I'm so jealous you guys are having this whole video log. There we go. That's it. I'm just going for a ride with him, how he's moving his head around. See now how he can roll the whole back? And then he arched. So he's going in and out of what they call supine and prone. See how I can roll nicely now the back? And then bring the head back.
Baby massage.
Well, they have that practice, but again, they're looking for... Oh, is that enough? Was that enough? You did really well. Oh, don't scratch your face off. Don't scratch your face off.
Right.
I'm just seeing how you transition now. Just a hint though. Oh, you're already rooting off of me? I'm used. I'm old and used. You're not getting any. They are
I was reading up
done.
with Mark this morning,
Yeah.
and Mark was looking at me, he's hungry.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know?
Hey, look at this.
Yeah. Feed me, Seymour. Yes.
So my husband would start the Raiders song, and he would do dun 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 dun. See how nicely though he is going to root off of both hands, so he should be much more
Yeah.
available on
Flexible.
both sides. He's yours if you want.
Okay.